It's recording.
Welcome to the Student Health Advisory Council of 2023-2024. Really glad to have you all here. And with that, I will call the meeting to order. Our agenda, first we have a brief presentation from Amy Weiser, our Safe and help me.
Supportive Schools Program Coordinator.
Thank you. I cannot keep those S's straight. And so if you would give that brief presentation before we move on to the wellness review.
Yes, okay. So last year we started using the Catch My Breath faith education curriculum, and over the summer legislation changed to where students who have a vape in their possession on campus or at a school event automatically are placed into DAEP. So we're currently looking at those numbers, keeping track of it, making sure that they're provided support when this happens, and that they go through some kind of curriculum, which Catch My Breath does have some online modules that we can put them through, as well as some self-paced lessons that we utilize for our students when they are in that situation. TCHAT also has a substance misuse curriculum and program that if parents would like, that they can allow their child to participate in that. So we have a couple different avenues for our students.
So Amy, I'm not sure that everybody's familiar with what TCHAT is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
yes.
Okay.
So TCHAT is provided free of cost to any student in Kerrville ISD. And what happens is if they need counseling or assistance with substance misuse, then the parent or the student can reach out to the counselor, and the counselor can make a referral. And it is online, and so there's that telehealth piece to it. And we have had really good feedback about our students who have utilized this service. It's very quick. From the time we put in the referral to them contacting parents is usually under 2 days. As quick as 20 minutes here recently. If we say, hey, we really would appreciate a rush on it. I've seen quite a few this year in under 20 minutes that they have contacted parents and already have a session set up for the next day. So they are very on top of it. They have some great counselors that they utilize. So yeah, it's a great resource for our kiddos.
And it's for any sort of counseling needs?
Yes. So as far as the counseling, it can be for anything. They will work on truancy, attendance issues, home life, depression. We see a lot of anxiety that they work on. Anything that is presenting that is hindering our students from being able to fully take care of their health or advance in their academics. So it doesn't have to be just academic related. It could be outside or dealing with some trauma. So they really will counsel for any kind of situation and meet the needs. It's supposed to be short term, but they do have some extended ones based on student need. One thing that I love is if they need to see a pediatric psychiatrist, we don't have very many of those in this area. And when you do try to get into one, it's like a 2-month wait. And so they can get them in to see someone. And usually if they're put on a medicine, they're checked in with very frequently instead of the I'll see you in 2 months. So in 2 months, a lot could be happening with that medicine, and they're checking in once a week then with TCHAT. So it has been a huge blessing. They also get permission to talk to that child's primary caregiver and talk with them if there's any medicine or any concerns there, so that way the management can continue with their primary caregiver provider. So it is a great really close to wraparound program where we're meeting almost all of the students' needs when it comes to mental health.
So what you were saying earlier before I interrupted, so sorry about that.
Okay, I'm glad.
With vaping education, there's a component that parents can access through TChat, and how does that happen?
So this is the only program, the substance cessation. Anyway, not doing it. The words are leaving me, I'm sorry. But anyway, parents can actually reach out to TChat themselves. With the counseling, we have to go through school counselors. But for the substance programs, which they use research-based, it's going to be a group, so they have that support system there. They're going to go through the curriculum. And so it's a really great opportunity for our students. So parents can go through and they can do it themselves, but we found that it's really easy if parents are like, hey, school counselor, can you help us? Mm-hmm. And we can put it in and get it set up for them.
And then back to Catch My Breath.
Yes, Catch My Breath.
Okay, so when do we educate students utilizing Catch My Breath curriculum?
Yes, so the Catch My Breath curriculum, we start in 5th grade. We go through PE and computer lab teachers to go through their core curriculum. PE is doing a lot of the active activities where there's games and stuff that goes along with those modules, so we're really helping reinforce it. And then there are modules for 6th, 7th, and 8th, and then 9th through 12th. And high school is going through science teachers. Middle school is looking at science or social studies, so those will be starting fairly quickly. It is 4 lessons that are about 30 to 40 minutes that teachers go through with the students, and then there's all kinds of supplemental information. There's science, there's humanities, there's STEM. So there's a bunch of different activities that teachers can pull in throughout the year to reinforce what's going on. So it's a really great program that is very flexible. When they trained me on it, you really can work to make it fit your campus's needs, and they provide so many resources for that to happen.
Back to TChat. Is that secondary only or elementary too?
It is, yes, kindergarten on up.
Okay, gotcha.
Great question, thank you.
And actually, I should say ECC. I think we have a
Okay,
couple.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Good.
And is the Catch My Breath only with referrals, or is it all of the
That's a good
students are
question.
doing?
too.
All of the students do Catch My Breath, the core curriculum, so it's a tier 1 where we're providing it to every single student. And then we have these video lessons and online modules that are utilized if a student is caught having a vape or vaping on campus. So then it provides a little bit more education, and it does a lot of the repeating of what they would have already heard, just to make sure that they're really getting that education piece. One thing that I love about Catch is they really are leaning into that research that when kids are educated, just like years and years ago, smoking was a big thing, and then as we educate and people are aware of the dangers, there's a reduction. So we're really trying to get ahead of the game and the misnomers of when you think of vaping, you think of water, and there's not a single drop of water in a vape. It's all chemicals and toxins. So it's getting that information out to our students.
Good questions. Any other questions for Amy right now?
If y'all would like to see a demonstration, maybe in other meetings, we can have Amy show kind of the materials.
Yeah,
if
I
you're
was just going to say
curious.
it might be nice to have a follow-up in the spring and maybe look at some data too of how things are going. So
Yes.
really appreciate your being with us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm sorry, historical, but was there, I know state legislation changed the game a little bit, but how big of an issue were y'all having on campuses with kids getting caught with vapes? And has this, I know we're only 7.5 weeks in, but has there seen a decrease or?
Well, because we've only have a few weeks of data.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I can definitely pull the data and share that at a later meeting. Please don't let me forget, Ms. Manchester. Most of our vaping issues have been at the high school. It's easier for administrators to know that kids are vaping at the high school because we have vape sensors in the locker rooms and the bathrooms. We have purchased as a district vape sensors for the middle school as well. I need to double check when those have been installed. I know they've been received and programmed. I just don't know if we installed them when we had our professional learning day and the kids weren't here. I have to double check and follow up. But I think because we have the tools to catch students vaping at the high school, that's why we see a lot of vaping happening at the high school.
Gotcha.
But we don't have vaping at the elementary schools, which is wonderful. Which is wonderful. I do know that there have been some cases in the past where kids have had a vape. Yeah. But I can bring those numbers.
Yeah, I was just curious to see if because it's been, I mean, I have heard from my 6th grade daughter and her friends, the new law, you can't even be standing next to somebody who has a vape, otherwise we're all going to alternate, like they're terrified. I'm like, well, then just don't even, like this should not be an issue for y'all then, right? But I just didn't know if the law has put in the fear of God into these children.
I think it has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's not going to stop it, I don't think. But I think it has, because I think athletes, I mean, you can't, you know, it's pressure all the way around. You're letting everybody down if you do it. So hopefully.
But they're highly addicting from what I've heard.
Yes.
And so listening to Ms. Balzer explain kind of the spike of vaping happened after school shut down for the pandemic. And then kids came back and she said, really, the kids that are vaping are addicted to vaping.
Yeah.
And I know that for years they have been working with trying to help kids overcome that addiction. It's just really easy to get a vape. You could go all over the place. I don't want to say, but it's recording in case the student is curious. How do you access a vape? I don't want to put it out there, but they're really easy to access.
Yeah. Okay.
And they don't look like vapes
No.
anymore.
No.
They look like highlighters, or they look like this or something.
Good discussion, and I do believe we'll come back to that in the spring. At this time, we do need to move on to Mr. Anglese's wellness review, and I'm going to let him explain the whole thing because it's what you live and breathe, right?
Yeah, so basically what it is every 3 years we're required to look over the district's wellness policy and then do an assessment to see if it needs to be updated. Are we following all the stuff that's in there? Does it need any changes or any clarity to it? So what I thought I would do is I'm going to go through the entire wellness policy today. It only takes up 12 slides, but hopefully it won't take too very long. And then what I've also done is I've provided a copy to everybody of the wellness assessment. And what I thought we could do, the best way I thought to proceed with this was to go through everything today and then have everybody take the copy of the PowerPoint presentation, which is the wellness policy itself, and the assessment with you to kind of look over it for our next meeting. The next meeting, we would then have discussions over what everybody kind of thinks as far as the assessment goes, and then that way we can put together something. If we need to make recommendations to change it, then we could do so. Okay, so that's kind of how I plan this out for today. So we'll go ahead and start. The actual board policy for the wellness policy is FFA local. So this is taken straight. All I did was break it down and put it in the PowerPoint and make it a little bit easier to actually do the presentation. So I'm going to read through everything. And then any parts that I feel that I need to elaborate on, and I'll elaborate a little bit like of what we're actually doing, because it's not really a vague document, but it's set up to, these are the guidelines, and then we implement it by doing these certain things, okay? So the first part of it is the district shall support the general wellness of all students by implementing measurable goals to promote sound nutrition and student health and to reduce childhood obesity. And then it's got the notation of the board policy that would show that EHAA for information regarding the district's coordinated school health program. development, implementation, and review of the guideline goals. The local school health advisory council, SHAC, on behalf of the district, shall review and consider evidence-based strategies and techniques and shall develop nutrition guidelines and wellness goals as required by law. In the development, implementation, and review of these guidelines and goals, the SHAC shall permit participation by parents, students, representatives of the district's food service provider, physical education teachers, school health professionals, members of the board, school administrators, and members of the public. And of course, the policy BDF for requirements of the SHAC. So basically, that's why we try to do this in the SHAC, because it's a pretty good, broad group of folks that are kind of, you know, represented here within who could be on the actual committee. So the wellness plan, the SHAC shall develop a wellness plan to implement the district's nutrition guidelines and wellness goals. The wellness plan shall, at a minimum, address strategies for soliciting involvement and input from persons interested in the wellness plan policy, objectives, benchmarks, and activities for implementing the wellness goals, methods for measuring implementation of the wellness goals, the district standards for foods and beverages provided but not sold to the students during the school day and on a school campus, and the manner of communicating to the public applicable information about the district's wellness policy and plan. The SHAC shall review and revise the plan on a regular basis and recommend revisions to the wellness policy if necessary. So like I said, we're required to do this every 3 years. It's called a triennial assessment, and that's what we are doing today. Nutritional guidelines, foods and beverages sold. The district's nutrition guidelines for reimbursable school meals and all other foods and beverages sold or marketed to the students during the school day shall be designed to promote student health and reduce childhood obesity, and shall be at least as restrictive as federal guidelines and guidance, except when the district allows and exempt for fundraising activities as authorized by state and federal rules. And then foods and beverages provided, the district shall establish standards for all foods and beverages provided but not sold to students during the school day. These standards shall be addressed in the district wellness plan. So basically what we do with these is we follow in the child nutrition department all of the guidelines that is set down by the Texas Department of Agriculture. So we follow those guidelines, and that's how we conform with this plan. So I put CO local in there because it talks a little bit about the fundraisers. Exempt fundraisers, schools that participate in the NSLP, which is National School Lunch Program, or the SBP, which is School Breakfast Program, may sell food and beverages that do not meet nutritional standards outlined in 7 CFR Parts 210 and 220 as part of a fundraiser during the school day for up to 6 days per school year on each school campus, provided that no specially exempted fundraiser foods or beverages may be sold in competition with the school meals in the food service area during the meal service. So basically, every campus is allowed to choose 6 days per year. They can do a fundraiser that does not have to meet the nutritional requirements that are to adhere to all the rest of the time. The only stipulation is they can't set up right outside the cafeteria and sell it during lunch. That would be the thing. If they were in a different part of the school during lunch, that's fine. We're selling it throughout the day when we're not in service, that's fine. So that's kind of what that's for. Definitions, just so that you kind of know, the school day means midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. So that means from 12:01, so they couldn't even set up in the morning and sell before school because that's still considered part of the school day. Okay, until 30 minutes after school is actually let out. School campus means all areas of the property under the jurisdiction of the school that are accessible to students during the school day. So that's basically the entire campus. FJ Legal is food and beverage fundraisers. It's kind of another explanation of the same thing. Schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program under 42 USC Section 1751. The School Breakfast Program under 42 USC Section 1773 may sell food and beverages that do not meet nutritional standards outlined in 7 CFR Parts 210 and 220 as part of a fundraiser during the school day for up to 6 days per school year on each school campus, provided again that no specially exempted fundraisers or beverages may be sold in competition with school meals in the food service area during the meal service. So it's basically, that's just the other policy, but it says almost exactly the same thing. Wellness goals, nutrition promotion, and education. The district shall implement, in accordance with law, a coordinated school health program with a nutritional education component. The district nutrition program activities shall encourage participation in the National School Lunch Program, the School Breakfast Program, and any other supplemental food and nutrition programs offered by the district. The district establishes the following goals for nutrition promotion. 1, the district's food service staff, teachers, and other personnel shall constantly promote healthy nutrition messages in cafeterias, classrooms, and other appropriate settings. So that's one thing. Right now we're in the process in the cafeterias where we're going through and we're redoing our marketing because it's been a while. We had a change of food service management companies, and then we had COVID. So we're kind of getting back to refreshing this so that all of our marketing that is in there is promoting the healthy food and healthy food choices. The district shall share educational nutrition information with families and the general public to promote healthy nutrition choices and positively influence the health of students. And then the district establishes the following goals for nutrition education. The district shall deliver nutrition education that fosters the adoption and maintenance of healthy eating behaviors. The district shall make nutrition education a district-wide priority and shall integrate nutrition education into other areas of the curriculum as appropriate. So some of these are done in health classes, science classes, things of that nature. I know some things that we also are involved in to help promote this is like, I know Starkey and Tally are both having a family fitness night. Yeah, we're also being involved in to kind of help promote that, okay, as far as healthy eating, healthy choices. There is a physical activity component. The district shall implement in accordance with law and coordinate a health program with physical education and physical activity components and shall offer at least the required amounts of physical activity for all grades, and then list the board policies that actually cover all of that. The district establishes the following goals for physical activity. The district shall provide an environment that fosters safe, enjoyable, and developmentally appropriate fitness activities for all students, including those who are not participating in physical education classes or competitive sports. Number 2, the district shall make appropriate before-school and after-school physical activity programs available and shall encourage students to participate. Number 3, the district shall encourage parents to support their children's participation, to be active role models, and to include physical activity in family events. Other school-based activities, the district establishes the following goals to create an environment conducive to healthful eating, and physical activity to promote and express a consistent wellness message through other school-based activities. The district shall allow sufficient time for students to eat meals in cafeteria, facilities that are clean, safe, and comfortable. The district shall promote wellness for students and their families at suitable district and campus activities. And the district shall promote employee wellness activities and involvement at a suitable district and campus activities. So implementation. The Director of Special Programs shall oversee the implementation of this policy and the development and implementation of the wellness plan and appropriate administrative procedures. Evaluation, the district shall comply with federal requirements for evaluating this policy and the wellness plan. Public notification, the district shall annually inform and update the public about the content and implementation of the wellness policy, including posting on its website a copy of the wellness policy, the wellness plan, and the required implementation assessment. Once we're finished with this, right now, currently on the Child Nutrition website, all this information is posted from the last time we did this. So once we complete this one, then I will also post it up there as well. Okay. Records retention, the district shall retain the required records associated with the wellness policy in accordance with law and the district's record management program. So we maintain the records from like this part of it here with the child nutrition, and then anything else that's being done on campus, like for physical activity and all that, it's just done by whatever the procedures are for records retention within the district. Okay? And that's the whole wellness policy. So does anybody have any questions over that part of it that I can answer? It's pretty straightforward. So if we could, let's just briefly go over this, because it might be a little bit hard to understand if you've never really seen this before. This particular wellness plan, the wellness assessment tool, it's geared mostly towards child nutrition from what I could see on it. It's got like 8 questions about physical stuff. A lot of it had to do with like the nutrition and then making sure that the SHAC is getting the information in front of people. So that's another reason why I kind of left the board policy parts of the physical activity out of this particular presentation, because the assessment tool didn't really cover those. But again, I left it all in there. That way you could go look those up if you wanted to. So on the first page, basically, all these are yes or no questions. So you'd want to answer it if you feel that it's no, and then down in the comment section, you'd want to kind of elaborate on what your thoughts might be about how we can improve or what we might need to put in there. So like the first one's over nutritional education and promotion. The written wellness policy includes activities that promote health, well-being, and students' ability to learn. Standards-based nutrition education is offered in a variety of subjects. Lifelong lifestyle balance is reinforced by linking nutrition and physical activity, age-appropriate nutrition education, and activities are provided to students in the various levels of school. Families in the community are engaged in nutrition education efforts. So these could be things that you yourself have seen that's going on in the district, or things that you might want to see would be within the comment section. Now we can start trying to kind of flesh out the actual policy a little bit more as it needs to be. Okay.
And if you don't know, it's okay to check no.
Yes.
And then write in the comments,
Right.
because then that's information for us and we can figure out how to communicate better.
Yeah, we definitely want the feedback. That's really the goal of the wellness assessment, is to get the feedback from the community to see if there's things that we need to change or do or add to the policy, to just make it better for the students. That's the whole entire goal, right?
Scott?
Yes.
Is the SFA the district name?
It is. It's School Food Authority is on that SFA. You don't necessarily have to fill in that top part if you don't want to. It's mainly just for the questions themselves. I'll fill out the official one once I get everybody's comments and everything, and we can kind of put it together in the official document. But yeah, SFA is School Food Authority. Stakeholder engagement. This is basically just saying, are all these people able to be involved with inside the discussion about the wellness policy? Okay. Again, assigned responsibilities, and kind of talk a little bit in the wellness policy about who's actually responsible for different things. The SHAC is what is actually, the SHAC is pretty much the answer kind of sorted to most of these questions, because we're the one, this committee here is what's been assigned by the district to actually go over the wellness policy and make sure we're checking up on it and everything's kind of being done the way it should be. Again, nutrition standards for competitive foods. Like I said, it laid out the guidelines we're supposed to be doing as far as competitive foods. We're following all the guidelines within TDA to make sure that we're not selling anything or serving anything that does not meet the nutritional requirements that we're required to operate under. Records retention, like we talked about, we follow the district guidelines as far as record retention, and all this stuff again is available on the Quest. Wellness promotion and marketing. Like I said before, we're in the process now of updating a lot of that marketing, because it had been a while since it had been gone through. So that's something that we're in the process currently right now during the school year of actually doing for campus. And then the last page is just about the triennial assessment. Does the assessment establish a plan to assess the effectiveness of implementation of the plan at least every 3 years? Is the local wellness plan in compliance with the required elements? Triennial assessment results will be made to the public in a plan to put together to update the local wellness policy based on results of the triennial assessment. Okay, so if everybody can just, at your leisure during the next 2 weeks until we have our next meeting, which I think is on the 18th, right? Kind of go over that, relook over the actual policy itself, put some thoughts together, so when we come back at the next one, we can actually have a discussion about it, gather everybody's input, and then be able to then formalize this and make any changes that we can then present to the board about changes to make to the wellness policy. Okay.
And Scott, what are the guidelines for breakfast and lunch set by the Texas?
As far as nutritional guidelines?
Nutritional guidelines.
I mean, there are certain, there's limits to calories, there's limits to sodium that can be in there, limits to fat content, the amount of fat that can be in something. You know, we don't have anything with trans fat anymore, but you have to look at how much saturated fat is in something. And that goes for the snacks that we sell on the serving line too. I mean, those may look like they're not, you know, necessarily healthy, but all of those have to be run through a calculator that is set up by TDA and to see if it's compliant or not. And if it's not compliant, we can't sell it. So even our ice cream sandwiches, they have to go through the calculator. There's a certain size, and again, if they meet the fat requirements and the calories, then we can serve that, because it's still considered to be part of the regulation. And then as far as the reimbursable meals, that's all done through the menu itself, but it's the same guidelines. We have certain salt, sodium contents, calories, things like that. We have to stay within when we do the menu.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions I can answer about child nutrition or anything?
Well, I guess, I mean, I've looked at the school lunch menu, but is there any place to find like the nutritional content?
I know that
what's
on
being served?
on the website for the NutriSlice, I know it shows the allergens. I'm not sure if it shows. I know it shows the carb counts. I don't remember if it shows anything else. It's been a while since I've actually looked at it for that reason.
Okay.
I know that you can get the carb counts from there, because that's where all the school nurses get that for the diabetic students. So I believe there's a way that you can look at the menu and actually then click and see that. What I'll do is I'll look at it myself to make sure where we can get that information, but I believe it's all available on there.
Okay.
On the website,
And then I guess my next question is, I know we I've dealt with state government for a very long time, and I know that Texas is not great when it comes to health standards. You know, everybody has a different opinion on that, but we are pretty basic, like, don't mess with my stuff, you know, we're going to just give you the basic requirements. Does Kerrville ISD strive to go above and beyond maybe what the TEA recommends, or are we
have to stay with inside the requirements and the guidelines as far as like the, you know, the whole grain requirement is one thing. We have to stay with inside that guideline. It's got to be 51% or more whole grain in like the pastas and breads and things like that we serve. So we don't have a ton of flexibility to actually go outside the guidelines that are set up. And the guidelines actually follow pretty close to what USDA has set out. USDA runs the guidelines, and then the states can do more than the guidelines. They can't do less than the guidelines. So far, Texas has not really gotten more than the guidelines. They've stayed pretty much in line with what USDA has handed down and hasn't changed that. So yeah. So like I said, we provide what we can.
So I need to go to State Health and Human Services now.
That's the hard part on some of it, and that's sometimes too why you might see things, especially those of you that are in campuses, you might see things like at the high school we have 2 lines and does not have a hot well, so we'll have a bean salad out there at one point during the week, and we have to have it out there every week, and it's because that's a requirement. There's a certain subgroup of vegetables, and we have to serve part of that subgroup at least some time during every week that we're open. So the legumes is one of them, and on a line that doesn't have a hot well, a salad is the only thing we can put out there with that. Now, a lot of times it's not a high take rate on that, but it's a requirement, which is why it's out there. Okay, so that's a lot of things, and what you'll see too in the menu development is because those things are required to be served at some point during the week, and that's what drives that menu.
And do the requirements differ based on the age? So high school is different than...
High school has a higher calorie count. Same thing with middle school and then elementary. So the calories will increase. Some of the serving requirements that we have to have, like so many servings of grain and or meat, increase again also because they're bigger kids, right? So some of those things will increase. Like we only have to do, I think it's trying to remember, I think it's 8 to 10 at the elementary, like with meat alternates, but then it's like more than that, it's like 10 to 12 at the high school. So we have to run certain things, like at the elementary, we may not have to run necessarily 2 grains or 2 meats all week long, but at the high school we would have to offer those. And that can be things like offering chicken nuggets with a breadstick. We offer the breadstick with it because that's the other grain component that would make it a reimbursable meal.
So many rules.
Yeah.
I know, well, and then it goes back to, I mean, I don't remember discussing this last year in the leadership class when we went through finances, but district budget, how does that impact your ability to serve?
The kind of good thing about the child nutrition budget is it's self-funding.
Okay.
So it's a 240 budget is what we operate on, and it's completely separate from the rest of the district's budget.
Okay.
Basically, what it is we have to make the money to be able to spend the money, if that makes sense. So again, another reason why we try to do the snacks is to increase the dollars of revenue that comes in. That way we can then afford labor and repairs and all of that, because that comes from a separate fund that has nothing to do with the district. Okay. So that's kind of the way that works. So it's kind of nice because when they do have the budget issues that were in the rest of the school district, that doesn't necessarily affect our department. Our department is just based solely off what we think we're going to sell. That becomes our budget as far as the revenue goes for expenditures. And then obviously it's our job in operation to get those participations in, to get that revenue in, to then be able to cover those expenses that we said we were going to have. Okay. Yeah. And next week too, I'm going to do the menu presentation. So I'll go over some of these guidelines. I'll bring some of the guidelines about the menus in there, because one of the other requirements that we have to do, since we're with the food service management company, is have a menu committee. So we're going to be using the SHAC committee for that. So every year I'll go through a menu presentation for it, just again, so we can kind of just discuss. I can kind of explain why the menus look the way they do, and some products on there the way that they are, dealing with everything from the restrictions to even, we have a certain set of commodity dollars that we get that we have to spend within a food. So once that product comes in, I have to make sure the menus will actually utilize that product. So that's another kind of thing that goes into the menu planning. So that's the plan. That's the second half of next week's meeting. The next time's meeting on the 18th is actually kind of going over that, so everybody kind of has an understanding of how we come about, the menus we come about. So.
Kind of like menu planning on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a great way to do that.
Will some of that presentation help us fill this out too? Because we could
Yeah.
keep it and then.
Yeah, we're definitely
Great
gonna go
suggestion.
kind of over this as a group and kind of drill down what everybody's
Okay.
thoughts and ideas are so that we can kind of come together as, what can we do? Does it need to change? Does it, again, maybe need to be more descriptive in some ways, because sometimes, they want the policy to literally spell it out, and the policy doesn't necessarily spell it out. You can look at some of these board things, but then some of it is just, what are we doing? And if you just read the policy, you may not really see that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we wanted to do, because I want to make sure that once we're finished with this, we can really put together something to be able to take to the board and say, these are the recommendations, that SHAC committee made to change to the wellness thing, so then they can adopt that, and that becomes the next, the new one, okay, or updated version of it, so.
And we appreciate your having a 2-week turnaround. We just, as we were talking, the amount of information he was talking about, it just seemed like it was better to do this sooner, rather than letting a month or 6 weeks go by, and then we all come back and go, I don't remember what you said.
Splitting it into two, this came from the last time that we did do the triennial assessment, because we did it in just one, because it was the first time we had done it, and one meeting was not enough time to have discussions.
Yeah.
So therefore, it really didn't change much from the assessment. But that's because we really didn't have time to really explore what may need to be changed, or what could be changed, what could be added, or why we wouldn't want to add something. Like we talked about, so some of the requirements or restrictions, there might be things we want to do, but we can't do it because of the requirements and regulations that we operate under. So yeah, it's kind of developed that way to give us time to be able to really discuss and have open discussions about the nutrition, at least the nutritional element of this. So, any other questions? Anything else? And that's all I've got.
Can you give us samples? What marketing is it, like just what the new company gives you to put up on the walls to promote?
Basically those type of things that we change out. They have different things, like I know at the secondary level, normally they will have something to change on a weekly basis that will kind of give, here's a vegetable you may not know, things of that nature. So it's stuff that we change out on a weekly basis that actually, has something for the kids to look at.
Relevant to what they're being served.
Right, it's educational for them, things they may not know, and it covers the gamut. Some of it is on, some of it is physical in nature. Some of it might just be about resting or things of that nature, but some of it will also be about like fruits, vegetables, different kinds of things they may not have ever seen, stuff like that. So that's really what the marketing piece is.
And breakfast is a little different animal than lunch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the requirements and regulations are different. So it's like
Okay.
different for both. They're similar but different.
Right.
So yeah.
Legumes.
No legumes at breakfast.
Yeah, no legumes at breakfast.
Put it in a taco.
Put them in a taco and they'll go.
So that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your questions, and Scott, appreciate all that you do to keep us in compliance and to take care of feeding our students, and many faculty eat at the cafeterias also, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Unless there's any other questions or comments, we will adjourn for today. I know it's a few minutes early, but thank you for being here. Really looking forward to this year. I know it's only 4 meetings while these 2 real quick, and then we'll have 2 in the spring. So thank you again.